From the reading, I feel like the war on drugs has grown into something far bigger than it was like in the 70s. It had more political attention then, but has grown to be defined and recognized by police, prisons, and lots of money. I think the drug world has changed so much because the concerns for drugs have changed. Today we're battling synthetic drugs and overdoses, when back in the 70s they were trying to target the substances. In the reading, Campbell talked about how the whole war on drugs began with Nixon's statement in 1971 that drug abuse was public enemy number one, which caused the formation of the DEA and a global prohibition system, which many countries at the time supported. It also mentioned how the drug landscape looks different today, as synthetic drugs like fentanyl create things called contaminated supplies, which have increased overdose risks significantly. A good thing mentioned was how safe consumption sites and medical assisted treatments were making a surge, showing a positive track towards how to respond to drug use. Personally, I've never been involved with drugs or had family members involved, but I've heard coworkers talk about their struggles with addiction, and I think as a society, instead of always assuming that if someone is involved with drugs, they should be punished, and there are many people still who use drugs and cause others to fall into the same cycle, but it's often more of a problem related to mental health or trauma. So I think that if we could build good systems to combat that, the bad side effects would go down some. Next, let's talk about social factors behind drugs. From the Contreras reading, I think some of the social factors that cause people to end up in bad circumstances are poverty, lack of opportunity, or resources. And I think the biggest one is support. I think this kind of shows how someone's environment can kind of push them down a certain path. And when I think about it, there's things that if they had gone differently would have affected my life. And unlike Tukey, the things that happen to me or the things that keep me out of those situations are support, stability, and access to a good education system such as this one. And in the reading, Contreras talked about how bigger social and economic forces affected the men he studied, such as the decline of the manufacturing jobs and the rise of the crack economy in South Bronx. This kind of system made it feel like illegal actions were the only means to obtain money. Contreras also brought up historical context which has affected urban living and the drug policy. He also made the argument for how this type of environment pushed people to dangerous and illegal living. I personally think of how different my life would be if I didn't have the support and education I have. All those form one big circle of stability and safety, which unfortunately many people don't have. And to me, it kind of points to how circumstances affect people, even if they weren't by choice.